But hello, everyone. My name is Jordana Thompson, and I am the program coordinator for JA of New Mexico. Thank you so much for attending our virtual career speaker series. This program is open to JA students across New Mexico and highlights business professionals, entrepreneurs, and innovative thinkers from a variety of industries. Each featured speaker will share details about their education, job, and career journey. During the speaker's presentation, please make sure all mics are muted. And if you have questions, just jot them down or type them into the chat box, and we will address those during the Q&A portion of the event. Today, I am so excited to welcome Natalie and Michael Tobin, owners of Runway Hair Salon. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I'll go ahead and mute, and the floor is all yours.
Hi guys. Okay, so like she said, we're from Runway Hair Studio. We also have a barbershop in our salon. Mike is a firefighter as well, and I also do real estate. So typically most of our time is spent at the salon, though. We are here, feel like we live here sometimes. And that's normal when you own your own business. Our job responsibilities pretty much include we manage the stylist team and we book their appointments. We train and educate stylists in new techniques and the latest trends. We market on social media and we market on our website. A lot of times our marketing is done when you guys get your hair done and you guys like it and you tell your friends about it. That's a lot of the marketing that we do too. We manage our products and inventory. So we make sure that we have enough color in stock. We make sure that we have enough hair products in stock. And we have critical thinking. So there are times where we have to make hard decisions for our team or hard decisions for our clients. So we have to constantly be on the move. And then we also manage the money. Mike is mainly our financial manager. But we pay our employees and we make sure that our rent is paid, our bills are paid. And among all that, we also still do hair. So he takes on barbering and I take on I pointed because I have Lindsay on there, but I take on my clientele as well. So we're still behind the chair doing hair. Little bit about us and our journey. So
I'm, like Natalie said, I work for Albuquerque Fire Department. I've been in the fire service for 20 years now, Albuquerque 15. And I've always known that I wanted to be a firefighter. It kind of was passed down through generations. I had a grandpa who was a New York City police officer and an uncle who also was a firefighter in Albuquerque. But I did know that was something I wanted to do. School didn't come easy to me. I had to work very hard to make decent grades. But once I found what I wanted to do, I just excelled through it and put my mind and my time through it or to it. And it really has worked out well for me. It's been a great career. Of course, met my wife, Natalie, which then she was doing hair and I became a barber several years later, or just within the last 3 years.
So with me, I guess you can say that I always had an interest in cosmetology or doing hair when we had career days or anything pertaining to what we wanted to be when we grew up. I had always said a hairstylist, but I never really thought I'd take it too seriously because I was always told you'll never make money doing that. And I mean, we were prepping for talking to you guys and Mike hit it on the head. He said, you can make money doing anything. It just depends on how much hard work and time that you want to put into it. And it's so true. So we both had parents that were entrepreneurs. My parents owned a trucking company. So we had at one point, my parents had 25 semis and my dad was the one running it. He was also the mechanic. And then me and my brother were involved. My mom would answer phones and she would make sure that the trucks were going where they needed to. So most of my growing up was spent at the office with my parents. So my summers were spent there. And we'd be bored. We'd be trying to help. I mean, my brother actually learned how to mechanic on diesel trucks from being there. So we actually learned the sacrifice that it needed to open a business. And that was something I was brought up in, and so was Mike.
My parents owned a lock and key business where they would fix, locks on doors, open cars if you locked your keys in them. And, he did a lot of buildings, large buildings like Presbyterian Hospital and the malls. The problem that we ran into, though, is business is tough. And one thing I think we've learned, which I hope you guys take away from this whole thing, is I think as self-employed people or people who own your own business, we are the doers. We are the people who think we can do it better than everybody. So we want to take it all on. And that's really where I think some of the businesses fail, is that they continue to push and push and push. They don't put time for their family. They don't take time for themselves. Everything goes to the business. And that was, I think, our parents. They always took care of us, but they spent a lot of time with their companies instead of spreading the knowledge and wealth and allowing other hands to do the work. And I kind of feel like that was in some sense a demise as well. So, take that away, and don't forget there's a million
balance.
ways to do things, and it's okay to let other people try it out. It may not be your way, but hopefully it'll get done.
Yeah. So obviously you guys hear that there's a lot of sacrifice to opening up your own business. We strive for balance. So we have an 8-year-old son who pulls us away from the salon and away from the business. And we try to spend as much time as we can going to his sports and doing the things for him. So finding balance is a big thing for us. So to continue, after high school, Mike went on to be a firefighter. And I tried traditional college, and I basically tried graphic design and knew that I wasn't made to sit down all day. How many of you guys don't like sitting down all day? Yeah, I know, right? It just isn't in me. I have ADD. So I jump from here to there. And the minute that I start doing something, my mind gets pulled away doing something else. I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that. So I wasn't made to be a typical, I guess not like even business person, but a typical student per se, or work at a stereotypical workplace. So I went to pursue cosmetology, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with doing hair, and my connections with my clients and learning about their lives and being a part of their lives. So I love what I do. I've been doing this for 18 years and I still love it. But I want to tell you guys, the people who aren't interested in traditional things, like let's say you like painting or art, or let's say you like cars and you're interested in building things, you can become a mechanic. There's electricians out there. There's real estate agents. Or let's say that the thought of running into a burning building without being nervous about it doesn't scare you, or you wouldn't mind defending somebody else and putting your life in front for somebody else. Like you can join the military or the police force. There's a place for you. You're the hands-on person. You are the doer, like Mike said. You are just as valuable and important because we were non-traditional. I had friends who excelled in school, but we were very non-traditional. We were probably more social. And there's some of you out there that are a little more social and have, small attention spans for school, honestly. But you are the doer. So you are the person that probably will end up in a trade or something that is vocational for college. And that's great. And you can still make money doing that. So I want to encourage the other side too. There's both sides. Like, let's say you love anatomy or you're great in school and you can be a doctor, or you like taking things apart and then seeing how you can make it better and you know how to do it better so that it works better. You can be an engineer, right? So there's things there, like, let's say you love math or you love teaching, you love telling people how to do something. I mean, you can be a teacher. There's a place for everybody. So they're all needed careers. So finding out what made us tick, right? So finding out that I love doing hair, and then we got married. And about 12, 13 years after doing hair in my career, I always talked about opening a salon, and I was too afraid to do it because I had a fear of failure. And it wasn't the fact that I was going to fail, because to be honest with you guys, like, I can fail, I can fall on my butt, and I know I'd be okay. But it's bringing other people on board. It's bringing a team on board and knowing that their finances and their careers were my responsibility now. And if I did it wrong, having somebody else that I was responsible for scared me. So that fear of failure kept me for 12 to 13 years from pursuing my dream of opening a salon. So, you know, I had a support system. Like, Mike believed in me, he believed in us, and he knew that if we worked hard and educated ourselves in business, that we can pursue opening a salon and accomplishing it. So I learned at a young age, probably at your guys' age, that who you surround yourself with matters. So you need to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you and that are going to challenge you to be better and to push yourself better. Like, who you surround yourself with truly does matter. Sometimes you won't have people around you that are going to encourage you. Sometimes you're going to not have people who are going to tell you you can do it and push you to your dreams. And sometimes you may have to be that person to somebody else. I mean, honestly, who you surround yourself with and the things that you allow to hear in your life matter. Your words matter. So, you know, thankfully I had Mike, who was like, we can do this. And he encouraged me. And like I said, there's times where I've had to be my own encourager, and I was hard on myself. And I had to tell myself, because nobody was around me, to say, you know what, you got to pick yourself up and you got to get in there, whether it's one moment at a time, one day at a time, or 1 week at a time. You sometimes have to be your own encouragement, especially pursuing a business. So one day me and Mike were walking. We had our kiddo in the stroller, and I was telling him I wanted more out of my career. And he said, well, let's see how far we can go without having to pay anyone.
Mm-hmm. And let me elaborate. That doesn't mean that we're going to have people do work and then not pay the money, because that's not right. We definitely consider ourselves to be, you know, good business people. We always pay our bills for sure. But what that means is, so you guys are coming up in the information age. Information for you is abundant. It's overwhelming. It's at the tips of your fingers, from websites to anything you want. But you can contact people, give them a call if you need to get money to open a business. You can call the banks and talk to a real person and actually get the accurate info without really having to spend money on it. All you're doing is gathering intel and research, and you guys are going to be doing a ton of research throughout the rest of your school career, so you'll really know what it's like. And some of you may already be doing it, depending on your grade. But you can call people and companies. Some may not want to give you information, and some may. But that's how we did it. We contacted multiple people, found as many resources as we could, and talked to them. And eventually, it led us to the path of, you know, opening the business. It wasn't quick. It was not instant gratification. It took a year from really finding a location, going through the process, and opening the doors. Nearly a year. So, and that was continuing to move and be very busy every day, building the structure, if you will. Yeah.
So we've had to take all of our research, and that was finding out what our expenses were going to cost us, meaning like what equipment was going to, our tools, our equipment, our mirrors, our color, our, you know, everything that it took to run the business, plus the contractors. What is it going to take to build the salon? We had to find out all the research, and then we put it in a business plan. And we had to present it. There's a women's entrepreneurship program. It's called West here in New Mexico. And we had to present it to them and pretty much say, hey, are you going to invest in our dream? Like, will you give us the money that we need to open the business? And thankfully, I mean, we had a few people say no. You know, don't let your no's in life be what stops you. We just had to like pull back a little bit and then say, how can we do this differently, and then present it differently. But thankfully, West invested in our dream in the salon. So we were able to open. And then at that point, we signed up for business classes, because again, we don't have a traditional college background. So we signed up for business classes. We did accounting classes. We learned QuickBooks, which is our program that we have to use to pay our employees. And then we basically pursued opening, and we've been open for now 5 years next month.
Yeah.
Sorry, 5 years next month. Mike got his barber license. I pulled him into my world. He's still firefighter, but I pulled him into my world. He got his barber license. And we've had our ups and downs. We've definitely had stylists come and go. We've had to learn to adjust and try different things when things weren't working. You have to have a little bit of resilience when you're a business owner, I think, because you are going to face some opposition. But we've had moments where we've wanted to shut doors and say, okay, we can't do this. And we've had to encourage each other or find our own encouragement to pick ourselves up and say, let's find a different way. Let's find a different avenue. How can we do this better? How can we change this? How can we still grow and move forward? And quite honestly, we have an amazing team now. We survived COVID in a career that was considered non-essential. I think nobody could plan for COVID. Nobody knew. They shut our doors down and we were closed for 2 months, and we didn't know. We're hands-on people. We're face-to-face. We're contact. We didn't know when we can reopen and how we can reopen. So we had to adjust what we were doing and make sure that we were doing it safely. So no one planned for that, but a lot of salons shut down during COVID, and we were thankfully able to reopen, and I feel like we've thrived through it. So yeah, that's, I guess, more our story or what leads us to now. And if you guys have any questions, we'd love to answer. Thank you for having us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your story with us. We will move into the Q&A portion of our event. I will start us off with a question that was put in the registration. Someone asked, how long does it take to become a hairstylist?
That's a fabulous question. So in the state of New Mexico, you can pursue becoming a hairstylist at 16. You need, at the age of 16, you need 1,600 hours. So basically you start going to school. CNM does offer a program where you can get your degree in it.
Yeah, an associate's in cosmetology, I believe it is.
Right. But there's also vocational schools. So there's like Tony and Guy, Aveda, we're Aveda. There's different schools out there too that you just attend like 8 to 5, and then you can get your license. You do have to test. I have a girl in the building right now who she got her 1,600 hours through school, and then now she has to test with the state. So they have to do a written test, and you have to do a practical on a mannequin head. And you have to show them what you know as far as cutting, color, all the techniques that you learn to become a hairstylist. But most of it is sanitation. But you learn stuff like anatomy in school. You learn math. You have to know math and everything. I want you guys to all know that. You people that don't like math, I'm with you, but you have to know math in order to move forward, even in hair.
It'll take roughly, I mean, I think if you show up every day and you don't, you're not sick on certain days and you push, I'd say a year is what it takes to actually become a fully licensed cosmetologist. And barber is about 400 hours less. So you could probably do it in 11 months, maybe 9 months if you're full time. But
yeah, and it's fun. I mean, honestly, school is pretty fun. It's scary at first to touch somebody and to think, if I cut this off, you'd probably think it's not going to grow back, but it does. And things can be changed. So great question.
Thank you. In the chat, we had a question from Erin. She said, do you have to like working with a lot of different type of people for this career?
Absolutely. And I think what's great about this career is that you actually never repeat the same day twice. You do meet different people and you have different conversations. You learned what not to talk about. There's things that we learn that are like kind of trigger things, like you don't want to mention politics or religion. You avoid certain things that, people are very passionate about. But most of the time, like that's what I fell in love with, was getting to know people and being a part of their lives. I have literally people who I celebrate like their promotions or they're pregnant or their kids or, you know, whatever moving forward. And then I have people that I've cried with and who have come in to sit in my chair and they've just been going through stuff. You're kind of like a psychologist. I'm not going to lie. I call it therapy. It's your therapy session. Because you never know. There's power in touch. So like when you touch somebody, you're already in their space and they feel like they can be open with you. Our industry is the only other industry besides doctors, or that, you know, health industry that we are allowed to touch somebody. So you're touching somebody, you're in their space, and then what do you talk to for an hour or two, right? You can get very personal. And then also there's people that just don't want to talk at all. So you have to read your friends, you have to read who's in your chair, because they may just be like, meh, and not want to have any conversation and they want to disconnect. So you deal with people sometimes at their best, at their worst. But you're here to do hair mainly, like you have to do their hair. But it's crazy to me how fun and intriguing people can be. And again, you'll never have the same day. And I think that's what I love, is I've never repeated the same day.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Miss Townsend's class. Looks like we've got a couple questions there. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, how do you have to be to start a business?
So I would say at least probably 18, or have a parent willing to sign for you to get a loan. And also you have to have credit, which I don't know if you guys have learned about credit, but that's another piece of the puzzle. When you go to a bank, they're going to ask you, well, what does it look like? Do you pay your bills on time? But if you don't have bills at your age, or, you know, even at the age of 18, you may not have a record or any history that they can look at. So getting money and things like that can be difficult. But as far as opening a business goes, and just saying, like, let's say you want to open up a legitimate, you know, candy shop or lemonade stand, and you have everything you need to just open the doors or sit on the corner. And technically, I think you can pretty much go ahead and do that, because it's just paperwork. But
so we have an 8-year-old, right? He just turned 8, so he was 7. And he has wants like all you guys do. And we have totally taught him that we will not buy his toys. We're terrible parents.
He gets a couple here and there.
Yeah, like we don't really buy his toys. Like he gets stuff for birthdays and, you know, whatever. He gets money for birthdays. But last year I had him, or actually it started this last summer, I had marketed him. We did it together and he wanted to do it as a landscaper and pulling weeds and going and earning money to get stuff like shoes or toys. I mean, he has big wants. So remember that there's kind of no limits. If your parents are behind you and want to support you in it, you can learn how to work and manage your finances now, meaning like, hey, I want to open, let's say, a landscaping business, right? So we had to buy a couple of things. I mean, we had to buy gloves so he could pull weeds. I mean, you have to say, I have X amount of money to open to open the business, to get started. What do I need from that to make that business work? Like, what kind of tools do I need? What do I need to actually get that business going? And he learned basically what he needed to buy in order to operate his own little landscaping business. And he made good money. I was shocked. People were paying $50 for the front of their yard. And I was like, dude, you make more money than I do in like a half an hour that you spent pulling weeds compared to my whole day. So there's a lot to be said about being cute and young and opening a business, because there are people our age who find that very exciting. And we're like, oh, great, you're actually working, right? So we put money towards stuff like that. So yeah, I would say, honestly, if there's something you're passionate about it now and you have wants and needs, try it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just wanted to know, do you like working at the fire station more or at the salon more?
Great
That's a
question.
good question. So firefighting is definitely my passion. Again, that's what I wanted to do since I was a kid. So I wouldn't say I like more now. It's just a different world. But yeah, the fire station is fun. I am an adrenaline junkie, so that's where I really thrive. I like going to the fire station because I get to drive the truck. We go and help people. Of course, we may see a fire here and there. So yeah, I have to say I think I like the fire station more, but that's just because that's my passion. I mean, that's what I've always wanted to do. But this has been great, and I do enjoy cutting hair. But it's the fire station.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a fire station.
I'm in trouble now.
He likes the fire trucks.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend's class. All right, I think I'll wrap us up with one final question. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever received?
You could go first. I think we have different probably ones.
Yeah. Boy, piece of advice, I guess in anything. I'm trying to think. I think I may just give you guys a piece of advice if that's okay. I know I've had many, but what I would say is you're going to reach a lot of obstacles and you're going to think you've failed. Okay. You haven't failed. You're going to learn and experience. You're going to gain experience in those areas and be able to grow. So like, if you get in trouble at home, like, okay, that's not good. Okay. I can't do that again. Right. You have experience and you shouldn't do that same thing. Right. So Thomas Edison, you guys know who Thomas Edison is? Raise your hands. No, he invented the light bulb. Okay. So he had to sit in front of a board of members and they asked, well, why did you continue when you failed 10,000 times? He said, well, I didn't fail. I just learned what didn't work 10,000 times, So there's always ways to get around things and to do things. But my piece of advice is really just continue to push forward. School is important because I didn't go to college, like Natalie said, but now owning a business, there's days where I wished I had went to college because I do have to work twice as hard to learn something like even basic math. I bet you some of you know better math than I do or more math. So, just keep sticking with it. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think one of the people that I was inspired in my career, we were talking one day and he owns 5 salons here in Albuquerque. And he told me, I've learned to fail forward, meaning when you fall and you think that it's a failure, you're still going to have forward momentum. You're still going to push forward. You're not going to let that thing be your stop. You're not going to let that thing hold you back from growing. I think we've just learned how to take what anyone would consider failures and grow from them and make it what pushes us and drives us and redirects us more than taking it as something that's going to stop us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Michael and Natalie. That was fantastic. Thank you, guys. Students, I hope you enjoyed today's program. But before we log off, I have just a couple of announcements. Following this presentation, you will be asked to complete a post-program mindset survey. We really appreciate your participation in evaluating our program. Teachers, please make sure you share the link of the survey with your students. And lastly, please remember that these events happen monthly, and we will be hosting these once a month on the second Wednesday. Join us next month on November 9th as we welcome Don Terry, the incoming CEO at PNM. So keep an eye out for those registration links in your email. Thank you again so much, Natalie and Michael, and to everybody on the call. Have a fantastic fall day. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Guys.